Comics Plus, Akasan here. What's going on?
Up, Super Crew, DC Sun.
We're gonna watch new Rockstars breakdown on Spider-Man No Way Home. The trailer breakdown, Easter eggs, and details you've missed. Very good stuff. Have you ever seen any work from the new Rockstars at all? Okay, so you know what they're all about. Yeah.
I used to watch New Rockstars a lot, and then I had to stop because I was getting spoiled.
Yep,
and sometimes it would be a little too informed.
And that's my biggest concern too. Is like I'd rather not think too deeply into this because sometimes they give you theories that sound better than the movie that you're gonna get. So
and then you get it, you're kind of disappointed.
Right? You're like, oh man. But
why didn't you hire these guys?
Yeah, exactly. You guys want me to watch this, so let's take a look at it. Here we go.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric
Boss,
and this is a breakdown of
that
the
and their
t-shirts.
They always have a t-shirt for something coming out.
Now confirmed to blow open the live-action Spider-Verse with past franchise villains we never thought we'd see in the MCU. Well, some of us thought we would. And it's all thanks to Doctor Strange being the cool dad to a team with cold feet. Cold because Wong left the Sanctum Freezer open to get some hunk of Hulk the Burning Fudge. And yeah, this trailer dropped on August 23rd, which is insanely the date.
Right! Yes!
What?
Yes!
What?
August 23rd. It's a very special day.
Wanda Maximoff and Vision had hearted on their
Isn't that crazy?
Okay.
Isn't that crazy?
Stars where our prayers to Mephisto are inevitably.
Yeah, he's always trying to get Mephisto in there.
Break down how these multiverse villains got here, how this fits in with the other multiversal MCU titles.
Thank you, Adwadi.
What other Spider-Verse cameos could be happening now?
I will say this. You know how people would say, like, if you have Mephisto or a devil-like character, you can't have it playing in China because they don't go for that. But as you mentioned that it seems like China's blocking out
doesn't matter
Western
at
movies,
this point,
then it's like, oh, well, why not do it?
And I don't even think that was. I think that got debunked as well.
Oh,
so
okay.
Watch your side or move to the over here. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Frame by frame for every detail you might have missed. Okay, the trailer opens with the three first notes of the 60s animated Spider-Man theme. Spider-Man. Peter and MJ are on a rooftop reading through news headlines in the New York Post, reading Peter Parker and his Spider Minions, with an image of Peter's big yearbook photo head on Spider-Man's smaller body. Puppeting marionettes with Ned, and it looks like MJ's face is on them.
Oh.
Do them like that. But then on the back side of the newspaper.
Isn't there a law about that with minors dealing? Like, you can't be like right? You can't like.
There are, but at this point, they may look at them as being
celebrities.
Celebrities and or just on the cusp of being of age.
Got it.
Which is just for this.
There was a joke there. I was gonna go for it about Zendaya, but we're gonna move on.
Paper looks like Pray for New York. And then awesome detail here in the graffiti in the background, a nice little nod to Ditko for Steve Ditko.
He called it earlier.
Spider-Man with Stan Lee, and the artist who inked much of the trippy Doctor Strange artwork that is inspiring this movie. Now, Spider-Man Far From Home ended with Spider-Man publicly revealed as Peter Parker with this same photo in a doctored video from Mysterio that made his death from a ricocheted Stark drone bullet that he actually fired look like Peter ordering the attack, as well as the full attack on London.
What I find interesting is that you don't see Peter's face, so people like it.
And was broadcast by J. Jonah Jameson, host of the DailyBugle.net, with J.K. Simmons reprising his role after playing it in a different
Spider-Man.
That was the Sam Raimi trilogy. And in those movies, the Daily Bugle was actually a print newspaper, as it seems to be in Sony's separate Venom and Carnage universe, but here in the MCU, it's an InfoWars-inspired online outlet. Perhaps why they're not reading a print version here. MJ jokes about the gossip that Peter could hypnotize females, referring to a real thing in certain types of funnel-weaving spiders in which the males produce pheromones to cause females to enter a passive trance-like state. While that's not really one of Peter's powers, he does in this movie ask Doctor Strange to memory wipe all of society. Maybe.
Though I will say that's somewhat similar to what Spider-Woman can do. She has pheromone powers and things like that. Yeah.
So did the guy in Black Widow.
Yeah.
Guilt over MJ's gaslighting bit is one of many memories that Peter decides he does not want to erase, actually. We see the direct aftermath of the Far From Home post-credit scene as Peter and MJ flee the Penn Station corner to zip through Times Square as J. Jonah Jameson's voice trumpets Peter's identity. The giant screens project that same yearbook photo with Peter's face half covered with the Spider-Man mask, an image that has appeared on the cover of several Spider-Man comics, but memorably on Spider-Man 366 in 1992, when Red Skull and Taskmaster tricked Peter with the return of his parents.
I will say, I'm assuming that that's
Taskmaster the same face.
How it opened up.
Am I wrong?
How it opened up. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, how it opened up with Spider-Man and Mary Jane, Michelle, on top of the roof. That's probably so they're trying to escape, and then like the entire squad force comes in. Traps. That's probably the way the movie opens.
So they end up laying down on a roof so people can't track them.
I would actually say no. That he actually turns himself in. And so that's why we see MJ and Ned, all of them with
being
the police.
Questioned and stuff.
And then later they get released.
And Peter finds himself
because there's no hard evidence.
Right, correct.
To the table, confronted with this photo, it looks like, of Mysterio's body. Now, Peter's wearing his nerdy physics is theoretical but the fun is real shirt, which he was also wearing on the day Tony Stark dropped him off after the Civil War airport battle. Now, the guys questioning him based on their patches are from the DODC. That's Department of Damage Control, the same agency that cleans up the Avengers scene at the start of Homecoming. Looks like now they're also the feds who step in whenever an Avenger gets in legal hot water. And it's here where some fans are still speculating that Matt Murdock, Charlie Cox from the Netflix
is
here as Peter's defense attorney. I will say it is interesting how the frame cuts off the face of the guy on the right with his sleeves rolled up with arms as hairy as Charlie Cox's arms. Warming up to get
it's a bit of a stretch, but
I will say, if
it happens, that'd be cool.
Right, a little too aggressive,
defense attorney, but I don't know, maybe he's really mad at Peter let his cover get blown. I'm not really sure though.
Better he's no. That's not Charlie Cox.
Right.
The files Peter looks through could be all the structural damage left behind in Spider-Man's wake over the years, like the Washington Monument, the Staten Island Ferry, and now, since they assume those Stark drones were all controlled by Peter the whole time, all the damage we saw in Far From Home. Then a wide shot shows Midtown Science and Tech. Now, in the skyline, you can make out the tower that was once Avengers Tower, which was recently remodeled to be given an atrium, with a nearby sign on the ground level reading, "We are so excited to show you what comes next," with the numbers 1, 2, 3, and possibly a hint to the Fantastic Four. Theories that the building could become Reed Richards' Baxter Building.
I hope so.
Spider-Man director John Watts is directing the Fantastic Four film for Marvel Studios as well.
It's kind of evident, yeah.
Now, on MJ's walls are some of her sketches, including the same one she did of Coach Wilson, that was Hannibal Buress' character in Homecoming, when she was drawing people in crisis. Peter heads into school with Ned and...
Just a side note, you know what's crazy about that particular actor is the fact that...
Hannibal Buress?
Yeah, for the premiere of, this is a true story, for the premiere of Spider-Man Homecoming, he didn't want to go, or he had a different engagement or something that he needed to do, so he put a ad out on Craigslist asking if somebody that looks like him, a body double, could go in his place instead.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm not joking. So he's like, hey, is anybody free and can go and stand in for me? You don't have to do it. You don't have to say anything. Just answer a few questions and kind of smile and pose. And if you look at that premiere today, you'll realize that the guy looks a little different. It's crazy. It's crazy. Look it up. Look it up.
That is straight gangster, because doing that, how do you get away with that?
I don't know. He's like...
he's like, what, you're going to fire me?
Right? It's like, dude, I was in this movie. Yeah, right? Movie's over, yeah.
Wow.
Peter heads into school with Ned and MJ, all harassed by protesters. Behind them is Flash Thompson, now with blonde
What?
hair.
That was Flash? Wow.
Natasha Romanoff. Now, some of the signs in the distance are from people supportive of Peter. That's nice to see.
That's
Looks
good.
like we heart Spider-Man head, or editor John thinks we heart potatoes. Actually, one sign puts Peter in devil horns with...
Here we go. Here we go.
Don't.
Yep.
You dare.
Yep. Yeah.
Mephisto.
Yeah.
Say it, Mephisto.
Yeah.
The plot here does feel a bit similar to the 2007 One More Day
Yep.
story,
One More Day.
Peter asks Doctor Strange to save Aunt May's life, but then ends up making a deal with Mephisto that involves the world.
That's right. Strange did cameo in this for a minute.
Mary Jane. Now, many readers were not huge fans of that storyline for how it retconned the character completely.
Yeah, I hated it.
Had to kind of backpedal on the implications of it. So I think while One More Day may influence the setup of this movie, the second and third acts look like they're going in very different directions. Yeah. Peter and MJ flee helicopters that surround them atop a bridge, probably also part of the chase in the minutes after Mysterio outed.
That still feels like the beginning.
Queensboro Bridge, which runs alongside that
Queens
Island Tramway, the famous
Sam
Raimi film that Spider-Man, Green Goblin, and Mary Jane, and the people in New York.
You've been all of us.
Shockers from his fellow students at Midtown High. On the screen looks like the Midtown Morning News with
Betty
Brant live on the scene, which I think would be right outside this high school. Now, for her to be reporting on this would be a bit of a conflict of interest, considering she and Ned used to date.
Fair enough.
As Peter trudges through the high school, in the deep background are the science and technology murals that include the face of Howard Stark, with the Starks now probably feeling further away from Peter as he drowns in public scrutiny. And since this is a shot of a bunch of young extras, naturally the dude in the Letterman jacket on the right looks directly into camera. We're rushing in on Aunt May in Peter's living room. They're watching J. Jonah Jameson's Daily Bugle show on the TV. This could be the moment authorities swarm their home to detain them for questioning.
Yeah, because you got the lights blaring outside.
Peter sees decorations showing plumpy little Dr. Stranges with witches' hats as Halloween decorations, giving him the idea to ask Dr. Strange.
I will say that is kind of odd that
Doctor Strange's...
No. That's not Doctor Strange, but just the fact that it's a male witch. Because usually witches or wizards, like, they're not always, like, in that particular design, it's usually a female.
It's usually a female.
Like, right. Where warlocks are a little different, you know?
They don't always wear hats.
Right, and that particular design is... That is kind of interesting, but yeah.
So you think it's a nod to things not being the way that we think?
No, I think I personally just think it's a forced it's a forced thing to kind of make it connect. Like, okay, I gotta talk to Doctor Strange, so let me use this fat wizard or whatever like that. Right. So it was just an odd little thing, like.
And the black cats on. I wonder what that is. I don't know why. It could be just some throwaway picture, but
that is kind of funny. Yeah, it does look like internals or something like that. But yeah, okay, let's keep going.
Be little Dr. Stranges with witches' hats says Halloween decorations, giving him the idea to ask Dr. Strange for help. Now remember, in Far From Home, Mr. Dell thought the attacks were the doing of witches.
What do you think it is? You know, being a man of science, witches.
We later saw him looking up on his phone. The events of WandaVision were before Far From Home, suggesting that Mr. Dell's fear could have come from reports of the Scarlet Witch in Agatha in nearby New Jersey. And now Peter is remembering if those sorcerers could manipulate memories, so too could the sorcerer in his corner. So Peter arrives at finding the interior frozen.
Yeah, look at that.
Interesting.
Right?
You look at the top of the stairs there, Doctor Strange
is floating. Yeah, wow.
Cool. Now this is the first time we have seen the Sanctum interior since the opening act of Avengers Infinity War. And Hulk, transitioning back into Banner, blasted a hole in the roof with the Bifrost from Heimdall. Maybe that hole was left open to let in a recent blizzard? I don't know. The stairs have been repaired.
Because then Peter would be
but also one room
in
the
something
contains doors
in
to
winter
other
clothing.
geographic zones,
that's a good point.
With a cold climate of heavy snowfall. Maybe one of those doors was left open. But the ice could be some form of magic gone awry, or a reflection of the Sanctum's mystical health. But it is worth noting that in addition to Doctor Strange dusting upon the snap, the official screenplay for Avengers Endgame confirmed Wong also dusted. So between May 2018 and October 2023, this place was abandoned. Strange's cloak of levitation clings to his shoulders over a heavy winter jacket, and underneath that, a hoodie for Columbia University. That's Doctor Strange's alma mater. And Doctor Strange has a mug
and Utada Hikaru
reading "Oh, for Fox's sake."
That's right. Because they bought Fox.
Sake that this bub now
that's good. That's good.
X-Men and Fantastic Four to cross over into. Can we get in on that, please. Then a shot where Peter pulls off a mask while wearing a new black suit. Now, designs for this integrated suit leaked via merch earlier this year. It has a gold lining described as having mystic spider-web effects, meaning this was designed for Peter by Doctor Strange.
Right.
Maybe one that allows him to toggle among past incarnations of a suit and or use sorcerer magic to track and capture entities from alternate universes, like by whipping web strings made of magic. Now,
look at this guy
facility is a homeless shelter, and you can see a poster reading Feast on the far right.
Yeah. He's
the
pointing too.
Outreach organization that Peter works at in the comics and played a big role in the PS4 game. Actually, the location with the witch decorations Peter was in earlier also could have been part of Feast. A leaked set photo that went around recently revealed a Feast truck parked outside the sanctum. Maybe Peter volunteers at Feast as community service after getting into trouble. So Peter asks Strange to make so that Mysterio never revealed his identity. And Strange is like, sure, okay, despite a stern warning from Wong. Why does Strange go along with this? Like, Strange must know how dangerous this spell is, or how petty Peter's wishes are. Maybe Peter's legal problems are becoming a security threat that Strange is concerned about, or Strange is egotistical enough to assume that he can address Peter's wishes with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. Or Strange has some other motivation we don't know about.
Oh, God!
Maybe. I'm actually wondering if Strange might see a benefit in deliberately crossing the streams of the multiverse to get ahead of a chaotic crisis.
Right. And Wanda.
Some interdimensional.
And he would somewhat know because he saw all the other possibilities during.
More on that strategy in a bit. Meanwhile, I'm not sure where Wong is headed, only to guess that he could be off to face Abomination in a cage fight in Shang-Chi. Though, if you look closely on the other side of that portal, you can kind of make out a structure with pillars and a trellis overhang. We actually saw that structure in yard in Doctor Strange. So that must be where he is headed. Strange conducts the spell in what looks like the Sanctum base.
What is the name of the wizard from the end of Doctor Strange? He was
the black guy?
Yes.
Okay.
I could see him coming back and wreaking havoc because something he said is
the bill always comes to
that, and you guys are, being frivolous with magic. Magic, takes responsibility, and what you're doing is completely wrong.
Right.
And all these mistakes are happening. I could see him either coming back or teaming with someone to take it back from people because they're misusing it, mishandling it. And what Doctor Strange is doing right now would be a perfect example of that.
Okay.
With the Eye of Agamotto once again around his neck. That's odd.
Yeah, this is very odd.
Purpose seemed to be to house the Time Stone, which Thanos has atomized, and Thanos shattered that necklace on Titan in Infinity War. Even though one brief shot in Endgame included a continuity error of Strange wearing it. Perhaps the necklace is a decorative piece that Strange reforged, or an artifact that he uses to store other mystical tokens of use to him, like a locket picture.
Sorcerer.
Doctor Strange floats in the same pose that he made when looking forward at the 14,605 future outcomes, which makes sense because this spell involves Strange accessing different timelines in the multiverse. Now, as part of the spell, Strange pours a golden fluid in a bowl, which then strings out all pensive-like as a strand that morphs into a ring of runes, similar to the ones on leaked promo art. Now, that strand might be a piece of Peter's hair. Remember, Doctor Strange similarly used a piece of Thor's hair to conjure a spell that located Odin, and Agatha used a piece of Wanda's hair to conjure a memory-based spell.
Did you notice she's not wearing the gloves?
Now, if you like what we do here at New Rockstars, or if you like cool, nerdy...
What's up, Major T? What's going on? What's up?
So that would be a reason why you feel it's not the real Doctor Strange?
Possibly. What if it's Baron Mordo posing as him? But then again, Mordo was so against doing that stuff as well, so... Who knows? I don't know, man.
Yes, thank you.
All right, let's go.
Hi.
Spell, but it is tough. If we're going to do any interpretation, we got to account for all the angles. Now, Peter interferes with the spell, not just by into it, but by
I went too far. It was...
It could be a line of other merch at the shop inspired by...
All right, let's go.
It could be a lion or a tiger.
Okay, let's go.
Major nerd cred. Also notice how this bowl is adorned with tiny figures of animals. Looks like there's an elephant and then a ram, and then on the left, it could be a lion or a tiger. Also kind of looks like an owl. Now the elephant makes me think it's
really
Indian or maybe African origin.
I think an owl.
Places you can find elephants in the wild. There is the Hindu deity of Ganesha, who has an elephant head, and his is known as the god of beginnings or new enterprises. But elephants are also known for their extensive memories, which could also connect with this being
never forgets
spell, but it is tough.
Got
We're
it.
going to do any interpretation. We gotta
That's kind of nice. Okay.
Now, Peter interferes with the spell, not just by physically stepping into it, but by verbally expressing his change of heart as the spell is underway. And maybe I'm just a Harry Potter in the brain, but it looks like there's some sorting hat rules going on here, and the spell takes Peter Potter's choice into account. Now, notice the spell forms 4 separate rings, which then tilt and chaotically break reality around them, opening up to this nebulous void on the other side, which doesn't look too different from the void of
yes.
that surrounded the Citadel at the end of time. In that Loki finale, we learn that the sacred timeline is a ring that circles back on itself. So that could clue us into the production design here. Each ring could represent a separate universe.
Right.
One
There you
for the
go.
MCU, one for the Raimi-verse, one for the Mark
Wow.
Webb maybe a fourth for Sony's Venom Carnage universe. The components of the spell colliding and breaking reality seem to be the mechanics by which alternate universe villains are now crossing over into this movie. The rings begin orbiting independently of each other,
Right, and then they-
knock
yeah.
into each other, with each collision perhaps
I can see
causing a
that.
crossover
Causing
of
a
character
crossover.
or an entity from that universe into this one. Now, coming out of Loki and WandaVision, we're still not entirely certain how much those events affected the multiverse across all Marvel titles like this one, because this event seems to be separate from He Who Remains Sacred Timeline breaking apart. However, since Loki established that time from the vantage point of the Citadel is occurring all at once, that breaking of the timeline could be coinciding with all kinds of seemingly coincidental independent events, like Wanda with the Darkhold, and now Peter and Strange in this spell gone awry. Now, at one point in this multiverse imagery, it flashes to this textured tunnel. This is actually taken directly from Doctor Strange's multiverse montage in the 2016 film.
Wow.
Then there's a quicker flash of multicolored streams,
Wow.
that shot out of Strange's arms and legs during that sequence. Now here, the frame cuts off whose limbs they're streaming out of. Maybe one of the Spider-Verse villains being pulled into this reality, or
Peter's.
ultimate Peter Parker's. Strange stops the spell.
I'm just wondering, like, how? I know it's
Like,
a
how
team
deep
of.
does this
No,
go?
I'm just like, I know there's just a team of people that work on this, but I'm just like, to remember that one small scene from a Doctor Strange movie and put that together, that's amazing. So,
Well, it's amazing, but I mean, you also look at it as like, okay, you're looking at a movie that has Doctor Strange in it, right? So before watching the trailer, or just after watching the trailer, next best thing would be to go watch that Doctor Strange movie. That's what I was mentioning.
before
because-
the trailer comes out.
Yeah.
I suppose
That,
so.
or
I
after you've
suppose
seen
so.
the trailer, you go and watch the movie. It's like, oh, that was in the trailer, and then you
Right.
go back and look at it. And it's like, oh, it is.
But that's the thing. It's like this thing came out. I guess that's very possible. Like they probably knew that based on that Doctor Strange was going to be in it, so they watched it.
That,
with
and
a
it's like, I mean,
fine-tooth
that's something
Yeah.
that I would do. It's like if I'm going to watch a Star Wars
Man.
movie or a Star Wars trailer,
But the
then
fact
I'd
that they
watch
put it out
the
in
movie
less
that came
than
before.
less than a day, that's amazing. Yeah.
And the rings shrink down to handheld size, but they
Pandemic.
continue to
Plenty of
zoom
times.
in at these chaotic angles. To me, this is also very reminiscent of the Machine in the movie Contact, a title that I
Okay.
only bring up because
Wow.
it keeps weirdly coming up as a Marvel influence in titles like Doctor Strange,
Okay.
WandaVision, Loki. The Machine in that movie had 4 rings, 3 of them spinning, all at different angles, and also opened an interdimensional portal. Then we move on to some truly Doctor Strangian imagery.
There you
The
go.
City of New York bending into donut shapes. I love this. Strange says you tampered with the stability of space-time. The multiverse is a concept about which we know frighteningly little, which is interesting because of all Marvel characters, Doctor Strange and Peter Parker are really the only title MCU heroes who have ever spoken of the multiverse, prior to Loki at least. Strange experienced a trip through the multiverse thanks to the Ancient One, and in Far From Home, when Peter met Mysterio, he proved that he had thought quite a bit about the multiverse.
Sorry, you're saying there's a multiverse? Because I thought that was just theoretical. I mean, that completely changes how we understand the initial singularity.
Again, I just think Strange knows a lot more about the multiverse, and he might be using Peter to get what he wants from it. Now, the city appears to be sinking at the
Maybe
exact
to learn
part
more
of New
magic
York
from
City
another
where the
universe.
sector
Right.
is located, 1778 Bleecker Street. That would be not that far from Washington Square Park, as you're overlooking the river toward New Jersey.
Wow.
Now, in this shot, Peter looks at his hand as if
Ah, you
his
can take
web fingers
Jersey.
are not functioning. Maybe he's out of webbing, or maybe Strange's spell won't let him use them. But in either case, it does recall the moment in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 when Peter's stress caused him to run out of organic webbing mid-swing. That's right. Let us not forget that the Raimi trilogy did not use classic Spider-Man web shooter
course, of
devices,
course.
but made Peter's webbing spew out of his wrist skin. I can't wait to see that conversation between Tom and Toby. Cut.
Ah.
What's going
on in there?
Yikes.
Next, this shot shows dust clouds swirling among some news vans,
Sandman.
including a Daily Bugle van,
Okay.
and a bolt of lightning strikes through it. We might be seeing two Spider-Verse villains here, Electro and Sandman. Jamie Foxx, who played Electro in the Mark Webb, Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man 2 in 2014, was the first past villain
Right.
confirmed for this
Right.
movie.
But honestly, I feel like if they do Sandman, they're not bringing back that OG actor. It's just going to be all computer generated.
I look at
Yeah.
it as, if not being computer generated, it'll be a new cast, a new actor altogether. One, it's a multiverse. You can pretty much do that. And if they did bring him back, that'd be kind of interesting because he tried to kind of redeem himself by the end of
Right.
the last
True,
movie.
but I feel like if they were gonna, it's gonna be a very quick shot of Sandman, like just
Yeah.
as CG form, and then that's it.
And then move on.
It's just cheaper,
Like the Mummy.
Yeah.
Until now, Thomas Hayden Church Sandman from Raimi's Spider-Man 3 in 2007 has only been rumored. Then Strange faces
Okay.
Spider-Man on this speeding train.
I do feel like this is actually a fight between the two of them.
I don't.
Like I feel like whatever.
he's training him,
Okay.
or he's trying to tell him how to deal with the multiverse because it has, I guess, I'm gonna say collapse. It may not.
I get that,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it feels like just that kind of look has more of a sinister kind of feel to it for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Looks like the freaking Grand Canyon. Aside from the mountainous setting, does evoke Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man famous duel with.
That's a good point, yeah.
More film.
Yeah.
Strange duplicates the train car into 8 of them, similar to his Images of Icon spell that he used against Thanos in Infinity War. The train track also splits into duplicates. A fitting metaphor.
Kind of looks
for
like
the Marvel
that, and it
Dark
looks like the
Knight.
Doctor Octopus
Next
kind
to
of
the
thing.
structure of the sacred temple.
But that's
During
why I
the
think
Strange Blaze
they're maybe
period,
not
we're
fighting.
Trying to live 2 different lives as what caused the spell to misfire. In addition to the One More Day storyline, this also reminds us again of the 2004 film when Peter gave up his second life and paid a
Right.
price for it. If you think about it, in the MCU, Peter's really the only prominent superhero who's tried to hold on to his anonymity. when
Yeah,
everyone else
yeah.
just kinda
That's
lives
very
their
true.
public lives.
Very
Again,
true.
I think it's super odd that Strange is antagonizing Peter here when Strange was the one who agreed to do the spell in the first place. Strange pushes Peter's astral projected soul from his Spider-Man body, similar to how the Ancient One pushed Bruce Banner's astral self from his
Such a
Now,
dope
And how it
when he
happened to
does
him.
this, the surrounding world freezes, which they cleverly show with a ton of autumn leaves frozen in place, as well as the woman
The
walking
dog, yeah.
dogs. Actually
Yeah.
reminds me of that first Raimi movie where he used the background details like the fly and the spit.
Oh,
yeah. Wow,
I forgot about that.
Spidey sense.
Wow.
Now, Peter is holding
Forgot
an
about that.
interesting
That's
looking
nasty.
cube, and you'll notice it has the seal of Vishanti on the sides.
Mm.
What is this? I am wondering if this could be an artifact from Doctor Strange's collection, a kind of pocket prison.
Can
that
you
Strange uses to
scan back just a little bit,
eh?
like a knot, right when you first come in that room?
Okay. Yeah.
pocket
Just before this.
prison.
This is before.
Before.
Yeah.
His collection. I am wondering.
Yeah, hit from there.
I am wondering if this could be
Trying
an
to see what
artifact.
was. There's a chair. I was thinking that artifact. No, the artifact that he's holding. I thought this was the structure of it being held in that in a glass case.
From Doctor Strange's
Damn it.
collection, a kind of pocket prison that Strange uses to contain the alt-universe villains that he is trying to corral. I guess kind of like a Ghostbusters trap. This seems to be the MacGuffin football that Peter and Strange wrestle over possession of. Strange wants it for his reasons, maybe Peter wants it to release these captives back to their homes, thus no way home. Then Peter wears his Iron Spider armor on an overpass, the setting of a major set piece we'll talk more of later. Now, he wore that suit only in the beginning of Far From Home, and in a deleted scene when he took down the Manfredi crime family. Other than that,
Right.
he left it charging in his bedroom. SWAT police close in on a burning building. Based on Happy Hogan's reaction, I'm wondering if this could be that safe house that Peter, MJ, and Ned were using based on those early production photos that were released. And now one of Peter's enemies could have found it and bombed it out, maybe with some pumpkin bombs. Then a very quick shot that I think explains a lot of what is going on. Peter is in a dark, murky place, and then suddenly the lizard jumps out at him, hitting a transparent barrier. Whoa! So remember, Rhys Ifans played the lizard in the 2012 Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man reboot. I think this is the interior of that pocket prison artifact that Peter and Strange have been fighting over, and that Strange is collecting all these eclectic Sinister Six villains like Pokemon and
To send them
Pokeballs.
back where they came
He
from.
knows the multiverse is about to erupt, and he wants to neutralize all potential initial threats before that happens. If this book or Ghostbuster trap bullshit sounds too crazy, I will direct you to literally any other shot in this trailer. This movie is gonna be weird. Then Spider-Man takes cover from a bolt of electricity, perhaps coming from Electro.
But it seems like Sandman's protecting him, yeah.
Spider-Man is forming a shield to ground the current.
Wow.
We return to that overpass where this woman in her car is just staring at Peter.
Kind of.
Time slows down again.
Ah.
As he senses
Got it.
Then the money shot of this trailer. A Green Goblin pumpkin grenade is tossed up from the collapsed edge of the overpass, and we hear the iconic laugh of Willem Dafoe as Norman Osborn. This was the rumored appearance I was most excited about. After this guy died in the first film in 2002, Dafoe's Osborn continued to haunt the trilogy through the mirror of his son Harry, and he stole everything.
Avenge me!
Dafoe Osborn might have been brought into this reality from the moment of his death. My favorite death from the Raimi trilogy.
Godspeed, Spider-Man.
Oops.
Oh.
I forgot.
So it was going fast enough to do that, but slow enough for him to react.
Man, rewatching this movie's gonna be so... Yeah.
However, we also hear Green Goblin's glider in the cloud of dust from which Doc Ock's mechanical arms claw at us. Also, a glimmer of green light. And then, as reported last December, Alfred Molina as Dr. Otto Octavius greets us. So excited to see this guy again. Now, it looks like a bit of de-aging might have been done to Molina's face, as he said was going to be the case, meaning we can also probably trust his other statements from that interview. He's wearing a turtleneck and tinted sunglasses instead of the blacked out frames and the low V plus high collar. Meanwhile, Peter suits up with the nanotech of his Iron Spider armor now coating him. Now, Doc Ock is climbing up on the George Washington Bridge, which makes the waters beneath him the Hudson. This is the river that Doc Ock drowned in.
Drowning.
Oh, wow.
So it's bringing them back from their deaths? Interesting.
Up with his character.
Wow.
Now, it's interesting how Doc Ock greets Tom Holland Spider-Man with a friendly...
Possibly.
Since his Peter Parker was Tobey Maguire. This would suggest that Doc Ock is more of an expert on the multiverse logic by which he was transported to this reality. And he might be able to conclude that any version of Spider-Man is Peter Parker, even if this Peter looks different. Or in this moment,
Possibly.
simply be greeting not Tom Holland,
Right,
Peter,
but
Peter
Tobey,
from his
yeah.
universe that he would recognize, the one played by Tobey Maguire. Or that Doc Ock and the others being brought here was a result of Peter's individual wish, and that his version of Octavius has more of a connection with this Peter. That's really why I don't think Peter's relationship with these villains is gonna be so necessarily antagonistic. He might be trying to help them go home, restoring the multiverse into separate universes and deciding he can live one life, a life with the consequences of his actions.
Right,
now,
right.
Not all those other cameos that have been speculated. The alternate Peter Parkers from those.
So, hold on, I will say...
That Miles Morales in the background. There's Miles Morales in the background.
Garfield or Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock. Again, there have been numerous unconfirmed reports. Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield both denied it. Many fans...
That's a nice suit, by the way, that Tom Holland's
Holland's
wearing. That is really nice.
did not believe them, but I will say it certainly seems more possible now. If the villains from these universes can get transported into the MCU, why not the heroes? Now, I would be surprised if Sony revealed those in a trailer, and while I would love to see a quick cameo of Tobey or Andrew through a portal or something, I'm also totally okay with this being Tom Holland's movie, and the mere prospect of Alfred Molina and Willem Dafoe showing up has me thrilled beyond imagination for this film. We are in the endgame now, my friends. Between now and December, New Rockstars is going to be speculating like crazy about this film, and we got a lot more videos coming your way, and you can support New Rockstars by checking out our
Alright,
shop.
there we go.
NewRockstarsMerch.com. Follow me.
New Rockstars! Do the damn thing, man. So, one of the things I think it was on Heroes Reforged that I was reading from a fan, which was probably the best comment I've seen in a long time, was the fact that they personally believe that this movie, No Way Home, is going to be a form, especially coming out on Christmas, is going to be a story of It's a Wonderful Life or Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Well, yeah, It's a Wonderful Life, and so, or even the Christmas Story, with because Doctor Strange is going along with Peter, but only to show Peter that
his decision isn't the right one.
Right.
So it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to show you what you chose, and then by the end of it, you decide this is what
Right.
you're going to stay
So
with,
look
or
what-
you're going to go back to
And
how
we're
things
gonna,
were.
I'm going to be separating you. See what happens when Peter and Spider-Man are kind of separate. And so then it shows what would happen when the world truly needs Spider-Man, and Peter will learn to live with that decision.
Right, and then by the end of it, it's like, okay, yeah, his Iron Man moment, well, I am
Right.
Spider-Man kind of thing.
Right. Because, in some sense, it's like...
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and this will be basically...
That'd be kind of cool.
And this would be basically Peter fully embracing the Spider-Man to be Spider-Man, and that, like, because we saw with Far From Home that he wanted to have a normal life, but he knew by
having a normal life, there's things that he wouldn't be able to do. But on the same side, he also likes the idea of being able to help others.
Right.
So he has to choose, and it's
so
like, but I don't want to choose. So it's that conflict, and this is that conflict coming to a head, basically.
And this will be his sort of graduation, and it basically closes the chapter of, okay, I'm no longer conflicted anymore.
No longer the reluctant hero. It's
right.
Like, this is me, whether I'm as Peter Parker or Spider-Man.
Correct.
I am who I am.
So he'll be basically doing the whole thing where he's just graduate, and like Scrooge McDuck. It's not Scrooge McDuck, but Ebenezer Scrooge.
Ebenezer Scrooge.
But
although that's a good knock,
it's technically the same. But he wakes up and he's like, you know what? Look, I'm gonna start Parker Industries. Because he's in high school now.
He should be at the end of high school.
Right. So so he's basically like, I won't go to college
because I want to say that the last time we saw him, there are what, juniors,
something
or
like
becoming
that.
Seniors, because there's a bit
because
of a
he has
jump.
I mean he has access to almost all of Stark's technology. He could start Parker Industries. He could do like an IT company, whatever. But
he matures and moves on,
right?
And they introduce a different character to potentially help him out later on down the line. A nod, like they're not in the full movie,
possibly.
And then that's where Sony's like, we're gonna milk it because we've got one for the younger audience and one for the older audience.
I would say that's
I hope they don't do that.
Right, I think that's a little too early. Too early, because I think they're gonna try to graduate our mature Peter or Tom Holland into somewhat what we get out of the Spider-Man PS4, and the way we've seen that Peter working with Miles, right?
And he's worked with Miles and training him, kind of thing, and or he's just basically grown up and matured.
And
we get to see where his story goes from there. Would be fine.
And I don't know, because I honestly don't know if we really need to see any more stories of college Peter. Like, it'd be nice for him to be in college, but realistically, I don't know if I want to go through a few more movies of him.
No, but I mean, if he is in college, what I would find refreshing is they don't make him the bumbling Peter. He's in college, he's studying or whatever, but they go the more mature, responsible route. And it's like, okay, by doing that, you actually deal with writing in a completely different way. And it'd be kind of nice to see. Otherwise, he's just doing the same thing. He's just doing the same silly things, but he's older.
Everyone knows Maguire's Spider-Man was in high school, and then we saw him.
And then university.
Yeah, we saw him at the university, right? And then
Andrew
Garfield's was, I remember about was skateboarding and
But
shit.
I want to say the same thing. He went, hey guys, correct us. He went to first year of college.
Right, because he graduated, and then there was that whole scene. Yeah, that was him graduating from high school.
So they basically did the same. They're doing the same thing.
Right.
They're coming out of the high school phase and going into the more young adult phase, which would be good.
So I guess in some sense it actually. Now I take that back.
Do you want him to be in high school?
No. I don't want him to be in high school. I want him to be. I want to see a bit of college years, honestly.
Yeah, having college, having the first and the last year is fine. You don't have to have all 4 years, all 3 years. Have the first one, maybe give a nod into, hey, working into the second year. Then when you pick up the next movie after that,
that's right.
Give it
Andrews was thinking about going to London, actually. with Gwen, and
with
then
Gwen, yeah.
So he never got to college.
So he never got to college,
Gwen
but they
died.
were done with high school.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she got
so
snapped.
I would. I kind of would like to see a little bit of college. I just don't know how they would do it. Like, is there a Stark college out there? Because he's gonna have to have detail on him all the time.
Does he have to? Because I also look at it as like this. By the end of this, he's going to like, yes, I'm Spider-Man. All the bad things that have happened have been somewhat resolved, and people understand that. From that point on, he's one with society, and he's going to school. He's focusing on school. Otherwise, you're looking at a revamp to where, okay, most people think that Spider-Man and Peter Parker are different people, and he's just a university student that occasionally disappears to go
but there's no way he can go to college and everybody knows he's Spider-Man. It just doesn't
Why
work.
not?
Like, nah. It would just be...
I think with smart writing that would actually be interesting, because it's something that doesn't get addressed, or only gets addressed when they do the really, really silly writing where everyone's memory is gone.
I mean, that's almost the same as in some sense, that's almost the same as like Baron Trump or something. Like it, he couldn't go to an average school
like they had here. Like he could be going to a science college. Why not?
But
most of his stuff is in a lab, or he's studying.
Nah, he would have to be homeschooled online. He had to get that Phoenix University degree or something like that. There's no way he could be right. There's no way that he could be. That's essentially like saying I don't know, Captain America in teen year. No, there's the best Peter could do if the world knows he's Spider-Man and him going to school, Wakanda. He'd be up there with all the black folks. Because people in Wakanda wouldn't care.
Sherry could say, like, oh, another white guy I have to take care of. Because that line got thrown out.
Wakanda be the safest. Wakanda would be the safest place that he could study. That's it. There's no way that he could stay in New York in a regular New York.
I think
that
he
place
could,
would get bombed every day.
No, I think it could work, especially after the little clip that they showed from the first Spider-Man movie. We mess with one of us, mess with all of us. Okay, so you're looking at people in turn being very supportive of him and not getting into his business, stuff like that. They have a Spider-Man day like they did, and they had the Flash Day or whatever.
I know,
and it works, but it does become difficult, a different type of challenge, because people know his personal life. Oh, he's with her, or that's his aunt. Now you deal with that dynamic directly. Okay, that's fine.
I just can't imagine him ever going that route because of the fact that it's just so. There's a reason he has his identity like that, and then.
But at the same time, people look at it as like, well, I'm not messing with an Avenger.
It's a good point. It is a good point.
Because if you look at it, only Iron Man had that issue.
Right.
I'll stretch it and say Iron Man and maybe Black Widow. And that's about it. You didn't have much people coming after Captain America, even after he was frozen.
Yeah, but Captain America never had a personal life.
People don't know that. They know who he is.
Yeah, but Captain America, like I'm saying, Captain America never had a personal life at all.
But on the outside, people didn't really
literally
realize
all of you're gonna kill my friends. Guess what? They're all dead. The personal life he had
was basically over once the bombing happened, and he had to go after Winter Soldier. Okay, I get that, but at the same time, most of the Avengers that are there, no one's really come after them.
I would say okay. I would say the only person is Sam. Like, yeah, nobody's ever come after Sam's family like that. That's the only good example.
No, they came after his family in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Threatened his sister and his nephews.
Who came out? The One World, One People?
Yep.
Did they actually go after them? Like
they told him on the phone where it come out. Knew
everything
about his family.
Yeah, only that point. But that
up.
was very hesitant. That was she was like she barely wanted to do that. So.
Barely wanted to do it, but she still made that.
It'd be an interesting thing. I personally think by the end of this movie, it's all gonna get erased.
Put him with Sam and Bucky.
Yeah, I can't imagine that would be the status quo. Because that was one of the biggest problems with there was a bigger problem with One More Day, but I remember that time
Yeah.
point, that time period.
That
No, that
it
time
was
period
bad.
of like just people yelling at Spider-Man, say, "Hey Parker, what's up?" It was so awkward for Parker, but it was even awkward for readers, like to have to go through all of that because you know,
I actually
yeah.
didn't have a problem with that. My problem was all the
other
crap they
stuff,
did.
right?
But I mean, having his character basically being somewhat outed, but in a positive way, but giving it a different dynamic by focusing on something else, I think would actually be good. To give another bittersweet ending, I don't want that.
Yeah.
Because it seems like every time we come to Peter Parker given, it is kind of a trope in the comic books, it's always a bittersweet ending, one way or another.
Okay.
You know, saves Aunt May, but this person dies.
Okay.
Saves this person, Aunt May dies. Iron Man is now gone. He felt reluctant to step in the shoes or to live up to the expectations he's all learning. Now everyone's memory gets erased, including MJ.
It will
then
be,
it stays like that. I'm like,
yeah.
but why? Because now you're messing with you're messing with all the Avengers, all that kind of stuff. So you erase their memories. He's no longer existing with the Avengers in that capacity, but you tie him in or you shoehorn him in with the Fantastic Four.
In all, honestly, in all likelihood, we're probably going
Overthinking it.
No, we're probably going to see one of the other Spider-Men posing as
him.
Yeah.
As long as they don't do the
yeah.
clone Spider, please don't do Scarlet Spider.
No.
Way. That would be fantastic if you don't.
Either Toby or Andrew, one of them are going to show up.
Which one do you think
like,
is, if you were to choose between Toby and Andrew, which one do you think would be the more likely choice that they would pick to put in there?
What? In the movie?
Yeah, in this. If they were going to have another Peter Parker show up from the multiverse, which one do you think the studio would pick?
Well,
to surprise the fans the most.
Oh, both of them.
Toby? No, you can only pick one.
Oh, if I only have to choose one,
Yes.
then it's got to be Toby then.
Toby.
Because Toby is the more Toby is the more matured
mature.
one, where Andrew was still kind of growing into something. But I also feel like Toby would be the more parental one and being like, okay,
And
I
teach
see
him
what
the
happens.
ropes
I see what happens.
How to be a better Spider-Man kind of
Well,
thing.
not just that, but I see what happens with great power, responsibility. Like, I'm gonna do whatever I can to help clear your name, and in all likelihood, they're gonna be like,
and
look,
then you send me back.
right,
to
exactly, probably something like that. Who knows?
That I would like.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we talked long enough. Ooh, that was a long one. Sorry about that. That's a long video. But thank you for hanging out here. And
Thanks,
we'll talk
guys.
to you on the next one. Peace.